The spiritual void, limbo, dark night of the soul, that unsettling feeling where things are really quiet and we don't know what to do about it. Or that constant nagging in our minds of, should we be doing more than we are? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, this feeling and this period in our lives goes by many names. Void, limbo, sometimes dark night of the soul. I like to refer to it as the state of suspension. So today we're going to be going quite in depth on this topic, and so I have a lot of notes, and I will be referring to them a lot more than I normally do because I want to make sure that we cover everything. So why are we going to be talking about this? Well, it can be a very uncomfortable place. It can be unsettling. It can be disorienting. It can make us really question ourselves, our connection to the spiritual realm, our lives. We don't want to mess things up, and we feel like we might be able to. And it could be helpful to have someone point you in the right direction. I received a question, or I guess it wasn't really a question, it was more of a statement in the comment section asking to learn more about this. And the reason why I bring that up is because those kinds of comments and questions can help me create videos that are a lot more relevant to you and where you are at your stage of the journey. And so if you leave a note in the comments or a question or something like that, then I may make a video on it. So getting back to this spiritual void, limbo, dark night of the soul. I've been through many of these, and dark night of the soul is kind of a different term. It does overlap with this conversation, although I feel like the dark night of the soul is a much wider spectrum. And so this touches on the dark night of the soul, but really the dark night of the soul is kind of like a bigger conversation, I would say. But I have been through many of these void, limbo, quiet state of suspension stages in my life, and I feel like they have been coming up with more frequency over the past few years. It's almost like as we are shifting more towards the 5D, there are more of these events. And I think that this is actually a very positive sign, even though sometimes it can feel a little bit nerve-wracking. A lot of times it can represent that we are learning our lessons relatively quickly, or that we are vibrating at a very high frequency. And so it appears like nothing is really happening, but actually so much is happening in the background. So in this video, we're going to be talking about why we are in this quiet place when we find ourselves there. I'm going to give you some relief around the whole idea and this place in life. We're going to talk about what we can do to make the most of this time when we're in it. And then I'll leave you with a final question to ask yourself that will guide you throughout really any phase of your life. The void space, the limbo space especially, but really at any point in your life, like every day, this is a question that you can ask yourself to really progress on your path and have a better sense of certainty, even in the uncertain moments. So if you haven't already, you might want to get yourself a beverage because we're going to be going quite in depth in this video. And I'm actually going to take a sip right now so that we can get started. Okay, so why this quiet phase? What does it mean? Why is it here? Well, the first thing that you need to know is that probably it's not because you did something wrong. It is very rare that you're going to be in this place because you have done something wrong, because you are not connected. The majority of the time, whenever you find yourself in a spiritual void or a limbo state or dark night of the soul kind of position, it tends to fall within three main categories. It often can be because you need a break, you need some rest so that your soul, your spirit, your mind, your body, your emotions can heal, because a lot has likely happened between now and a while ago. And just with the humdrum of physical 3D life, we don't really get to take a lot of time where we can process through things and we can actually rest and we can actually honor the life experience that we're going through and the soul experience and the soul journey that we're going through. So that's one of the main reasons why that can happen. Another reason is that maybe you are having a reset, and that can happen if you are currently on the wrong path. Now, it doesn't mean that you have been following the wrong path all this time or that you're doing something wrong. While that can be the case sometimes, if you're really just off the trajectory of where your life is supposed to be, you may get a tower moment, you may get this void place, but most of the time you're actually on your path, and maybe something has shifted that has now made what was the right path no longer the right path, and we'll talk about some specifics around that in a moment here. The third main reason is that you're actually having this quiet place to really gear up and get ready for something wonderful. So, a lot of times, whenever we're getting to that next stage, we've already done a lot of the work to make that next stage start to materialize in reality. But there's still some adjustments that we need to make internally in order to be ready. And we'll talk about that as well as we keep going. Okay, so now let's get into some more specific reasons for why you might be experiencing a spiritual void or limbo or dark night of the soul stage in your life right now. So, like I was saying before, sometimes it can be a reset. Life can be really noisy. Life can have a lot of distractions in it. We might be on the right path originally when we enter the noise and the distraction that we're in. But as we grow through that phase, we may have grown beyond where we are. But we can't really hear what we need to do next or where we need to be next because we're constantly distracted. And maybe we've gotten really wrapped up in the life that we're in that we're not even asking that question. What's next? Is this where I need to stay? Is this where I should continue to be? That is the T timer. So sometimes we need this reset where we are pulled out of the humdrum of life, out of the distractions, out of the noise that we were in, so that we have the quiet, so that we can hear the messages we need to hear, so that we now have this opportunity, almost this burning question, because it's the only question when there's not much going on, which is, what is next? Where do I go from here? What is my plan? Before, there only seemed to be one main path that I was already on. Now that that path has been taken away from me, there's in a sense limitless opportunity, or it feels like there's like 2 or 3 paths. Which one do I do? And there might be a pull between what I should do and what I want to do, or what is responsible, or what is soul nourishing. Sometimes we're placed in a spiritual void or limbo state or dark night of the soul because we really need that space to heal. Like in the previous example, life can be very distracting, and especially when we live in a more capitalistic society, we can have a lot of things that are happening in our personal life that deserve a grieving period, deserve a mourning period, deserve really sitting with it and feeling those feelings. But because we have jobs and we want to keep our jobs and we need those jobs in order to keep housing over our heads, etc., we might not really give ourselves the space to grieve. We might not take off enough time in order to honor whatever has happened in our lives that needs that recognition and that space. And we may just, maybe take a couple of days here and there and then otherwise power through. We may also have ideals within us because of capitalism and patriarchy and kind of the removal of the other aspect of us, which is like really honoring ourselves and our emotions and our connection to the universe and spirit. We may also feel like, well, I can just power through this. Like, I only need the 2 days. I'm good. I need to show strength. I need to show that I'm capable. I need to show that, I need to show my worthiness through showing that I can just bounce right back. So sometimes we can be in these void spaces. Speaking of grieving, my poor puppy. So sometimes we can be in these void spaces because our soul really needs that space. It really needs that time, and we weren't going to give it to ourselves otherwise, and life wasn't going to, we're going to find excuses one way or another. And so we get put into a timeout of sorts in order to really process what we need to process. So sometimes we're on the right path, but we're still put in this void space because maybe that path is no longer the right path. And sometimes the reason why that path is no longer the right path is because other players in your vicinity have made different choices than what maybe would have been the original choice. Like they may be going through their own shifts and their own confusion and making choices that are less predictable. And so maybe that path was originally going to be yours, but so much has shifted external to you that the lessons that you need to learn or the way that you were going to grow or what your soul needed from the situation can no longer be achieved. And so the universe is creating a separation for you from that so that you can then elevate yourself and get yourself to the next level through a different means, because the current means is no longer going to be that way for you. And also, sometimes you learn the lesson faster than Spirit originally thought. Sometimes you're just truly on your A game. And so now Spirit is lining up something new for you so that you can get to that next level of your soul evolution and your soul growth, and also to your success. Because if as you're learning your lessons, that's getting you closer and closer to what you need to feel fulfilled, what your soul wants to achieve in this lifetime. And so if you're learning things quickly, you can be put in this spiritual void space that feels like a punishment, or feels like you did something wrong, or feels like, why did this have to happen to me? When really it's happening for you. It's because you have actually achieved. You might feel like, well, I did all this stuff. Like, why didn't it work out? Like, it did work out. It's just that now you need something that's going to take you even closer to what it is that is going to fulfill you. You've succeeded, you've achieved, you're A plus, 110%. Sometimes the spiritual void or limbo or dark night of the soul happens because there's actually something really, really positive and really important that is about to happen on your path. And if you were to stay where you are now and that opportunity were to come your way, you might overlook it. You might not even accept it when it shows up, because a lot of times as humans, we want things to stay the same. We want things to stay constant, and we don't really like change, and we don't really like uncertainty. And so in order for you to actually be able to jump on that opportunity when it shows up, you need to kind of have nothing, right? You need to have nothing that would hold you back, nothing that would prevent you, because Spirit does not like to leave things to chance as much as possible. And so sometimes that can be why you're also in this space. Something really good is about to happen. It's like the dark before the light, or the night before the day. Now, the other reason why you might be put in this spiritual timeout right before something good is about to happen is because you may have done all of the work in order for this to be a potential for you now, like a very strong potential that's going to happen. But there might still be some inner work that you need to complete, which I mentioned earlier. So we're going to dive in deeper on that. So if something greater is headed your way, and it is something bigger and mightier and better, just something that you never thought you could have before, or something that maybe you even never considered to ask, you won't be able to accept it, and or you won't be able to keep it until you believe that you are worthy of it. And so sometimes you can be put in this quiet space so that you can work on your mindset, work on your confidence, that when it shows up, you have no doubt that you're worthy of it. You have no doubt that it is a gift that is meant specifically for you, and that it is being given to you. So during these quiet spaces, it's a time for us to work on our mindset, and it's also a time for us to really connect to Spirit, because when we're in this quiet place, we have no other option but to trust. There's nothing we can grab onto because we're in a very uncertain place. The only thing that we can turn our eyes to is the universe, is Spirit, is Source. It is the last thing that we have. And so in these quiet spaces, it can build some of the greatest trust in that connection. And then you learn that trust and you bring it into the next thing with you, and then the next thing with you, and the next thing with you. And while in the moment, that connection is a leap of faith, and it's almost a desperation because you don't feel like there's anything else that you can do. You don't have another option. When you look back on that quiet period and you look back on everything that's happened since you've gotten out of that period, you will see the method to the madness. You will see how that quiet period truly served you. It truly reset you. It truly opened up the doorway to something completely different that was life-changing, that was healing for you, that took you closer to something that was soul fulfilling, that taught you more self-worth, that introduced you to the right people. Like, every time you have one of these void spaces, because I think I mentioned this earlier, I've had several, and each one is easier to handle than the last. And that's because after each one, the amount of life shifting in a positive direction that has happened for me every time, it is so much more like it gets larger. Like the shifts are larger and larger and more profound, and I just get so amazed. And so every time that I'm in one of these situations, which, like I was saying before, it seems to be happening with greater frequency. And I think it's because we're all shifting to the 5D. And so things are manifesting faster. And that means that we get in these quiet spaces faster, because that's part of the process of manifesting, is you have these quiet spaces that happen as things are working out for you and as things are shifting and as you're shifting. Like this whole quiet space is part of success. It's not despite success. It's not a block from success. It's not you doing the wrong thing regarding success. It is a part of it. It is a part of it. It means that you are headed towards it. But yeah, everyone, like, it's just easier to handle because each one develops that trust even more strongly, and the experiences that you have after each one are just so mind-boggling amazing that it's uncomfortable still, but like it gets easier with every single one. So yeah, the universe is essentially weaving and working magic for you in the background while you get to take a vacation. Now, it doesn't feel like a vacation. It can feel stressful, but why not put a nice little spin on it? And in regards to a lot of times feeling like you're not connected to guidance anymore, when you're in this space, or if your void space isn't really about like life circumstances, it's more about the quiet between you and the universe, you and spirit, you and receiving guidance. This can happen for a few different reasons. Like, one, it could be that you receive so much guidance that you are integrating that information, and you need that integration space. You need your body and your subconscious and your conscious brain to all come together to integrate that, so that it becomes a part of you before you can take on more. Because otherwise you would just be a jumble of all of these concepts and shifts and this consciousness awakening that isn't really getting settled. It isn't really getting grounded in your body. And so you're not really going to be able to operate from it. It's kind of like whenever you hear information, but you don't understand it yet. And so you don't know how to apply it or how to live it. So if you feel like you're not connecting, that could be one of the reasons. It could also be that you are not connecting enough. Like, if you have only been connecting to the universe every so often, only whenever you need it, then you're not really supporting yourself in the way that you could. Like, you could be supporting yourself every day, but you're only supporting yourself when you ultimately like absolutely need it. And so this could be a way of the universe getting you to connect to them, and really to connect to yourself on a regular basis, because again, you don't have an option. Like, either a lot's happening in your life, or nothing's happening in your life rather, and so you have the time and you don't know what else to do with it because it's confusing, and you're reaching for answers, or you're not getting connected and you want it, and so you're trying to connect more often than you normally would. Another thing is if you're feeling like your void space is about not being as connected to the universe or to source, spirit, whatever term you use, divine, it could be because if you're newer to your path, it could be because, or if you're newer to your path, or if you're newer to a new state, like maybe you've been on your path for a while, but you've had certain shifts, like maybe your path has changed, or maybe your mentality about your connection has changed. Like, something has shifted profoundly in you, and so you've been feeling more connected, and all of a sudden it feels like that's gone and you're in a quiet space. It could just be because now you have integrated this new way, and so it's not as exciting or different or new, and it's now just a part of you, and it feels like it's less connected, but actually you are even more connected because it's natural to you, it's ingrained, it's integrated. And there are many reasons, but I would say that the last one we'll cover today is that sometimes you don't get to know. Sometimes you don't get to know. Sometimes you do get to know, but you gotta wait, a few months. Sometimes you do get to know, but you gotta wait a year. Sometimes you do get to know, but you gotta wait a few years. Sometimes you do get to know, but you gotta wait for many, many, many years. And sometimes you just don't get to know. You get to know when you cross over and you get to ask all your questions. All right, so now let's get into a little bit of relief work, and then we'll also talk about what can you do during this time? How can you make the most of this time? So when it comes to trying to find relief, it's really hard to find relief when you're in the middle of it. There's not a lot anybody can really tell you that's gonna truly shift that, because it is a spiritual time, and so a lot of that relief needs to come from your journey through it. But what I will say is that it's a very uncertain time, and that is the constant of life. And everybody is dealing with uncertainty in one form or fashion. And if they are not, it doesn't last long. Right? It might last a few months that they're certain, and then there's something else that comes into their life that makes them feel less certain. And so you are never actually alone in your experience of this uncertainty. It may show up in different flavors for every person, and it certainly does. But at the end of the day, it's all ice cream. Everybody's dealing with the same thing, the same ultimate core uncertainty, even if it shows up in different flavors. And the other thing that I'll say about uncertainty is that I think lots of people are experiencing it right now. This shift to 5D is really, really accelerating. And on my channel, I rarely talk about this. So the fact that it keeps coming up for me in my channel messages to share with you, it's really accelerating. It's really accelerating. And because of that, a lot of people are having shakeups in their lives, not just you. And a lot of people are having to reassess their previous path, their previous plans, their previous view of what they thought their life was going to be, their previous idea of what they thought their purpose was. And everybody's having to review that, reassess it, tune into where they are right now, listen for the messages, listen for what's next for them in some way. So truly, this is a very exciting time. Strange, but exciting. And everybody's experiencing it in some form or fashion, so you're definitely not alone. So what I would say to you is, regardless of what reason brought you to this void space, this limbo space, this dark night of the soul, welcome. All right, so now that we're here, let's talk about what we can do in the meantime. Now, the first thing that I want to say about this is, with all of these shifts that are happening, both in your stage right now of the void space, as well as what's just happening for everybody in this 5D shift, essentially what's happening is that we're all being guided to what our soul really wants, what would truly fulfill it. And I think the first thing that I want you to do is tune in to how you feel about that. Everything's being led to what would most fulfill your soul. And if you have any resistance to that, any kind of idea of, well, I don't know that I want what my soul wants. I don't think my soul really wants what I want. Like, I think my mind knows what I want better. Like, I don't want to lose all these things that I'm attached to mentally that I want. Like, what if my soul says, nah, to hell with all of that. I want to go do this completely different thing instead. What would that mean for me? That's not what I want. So if you have any resistance to the idea that your soul knows better than what you may currently conceive of, take note of that. And this is a great time to heal that, because your soul does know. It really does. It really, 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 really does. You won't understand that until maybe a year or two down the road. Sometimes less, if you're paying attention. But it knows. It really, really, really knows. And a lot of times, what your soul wants for you is not going to deviate so completely from what you want for you. It will be a lot of times in the same realm. It just might show up in a different place or a different format, but it will ultimately be a lot of times what mentally you want. So it's not this complete disconnect most of the time. Okay, so let's get into more of what you can do. In your timeout or your vacation, here are some things you can do. Now, number one, it might feel like there's not a lot of action you can do right now. You're kind of in this waiting state. And so there might not be a lot of action for you to do. But of course, if there are actions that you feel like you should do some of those. Ultimately, you want to do what you need to do, or like what your soul is guiding you to do. But we do live in a physical realm. It is okay to do things that you should do, things that feel like the responsible thing. Okay, that's totally fine. It's important. Do it. Just don't make all of your time about that. You may also get a lot of inspired action. You may also find yourself in some very creative mental spaces. Like, you have creative outlets that are wanting to come out of you, because usually when you're doing the humdrum of life, you don't have space for that as much as you'd like to. So that might be inspired action or inspired ideas that are coming forth from you. So take note of those things, act on the inspired action. Yeah, that's what I would say about that. Grieve losses that you have not given yourself the chance to grieve. Sink into the flow of life. Life has a lot of phases in it. There is a rhythm to life. There are many different cycles, and each one of them has a rhythm, and the void space is one of the rhythms of life. It is a path to success. It is a step to success. It is not something that can be avoided. The void space happens in really obvious ways like this, where it feels like you are in this very long, quiet space. It also happens in little things, like even for little things that you're trying to manifest, for example, that seem to happen very quickly, there is still a void space in there. It just might be smaller. So it is a part of the path, always, whether it is obvious to you or not. So just honor the phase. You're going to be in it regardless. You might as well honor that phase. But yeah, basically there is a rhythm, and you're going to be here. The universe is going to kind of sway you either way to get you to where you need to be. So you might as well enjoy the journey as much as possible. I would also say honor the messages that are showing up for you and the proof. So you may feel like you're not receiving a lot, but maybe you are actually receiving a lot of information and you're just brushing it off. So, and just know that the universe is always protecting you. A lot of times it feels like it's punishing you, but it's actually protecting you. It's protecting you from punishment that would have happened had you stayed where you were, or things that continued as they did. So yeah, honor the messages. So for example, I'm currently in a void space of my own. About a week into the void space, during that time, I was supposed to be in Toronto. So this was last week at the time of my filming this. And I think it was the very early morning of Wednesday. I was just doing my thing, just my routine, and I received this download of like, please remember, Trishna, that the universe is protecting you, and that had you been in Toronto, something not very good would have happened. It would not have been very good for you. And I'm like, okay. And I moved on with my day. And it also said that there would be a lot of distortion and deception too. Not there, but like in this same scenario. So I'm like, okay, moved on with my day. I go over to my parents' place in the evening, and then they have the news on, and I see that there are wildfires that just began that day that were right where I was going to stay, and that the air quality was so bad as a result of it that Toronto was ranked the worst city with air quality. And of course that shifts, you know, like if there's a forest fire, if as that forest fire goes away and there's a forest fire somewhere else, that would be the next city. But like it was really bad, very like high risk. And the people that I know that went there, they were like, the air quality was so bad. Like it was. So that was proof right there. So if you are receiving downloads, you may receive the proof immediately or you may not, but just trust them. Like if you're receiving messages of like, just remember, you know, we are protecting you. And then the deception and distortion also made itself known very apparently as well. So just know that you are being taken care of, whether it appears that way or not. Another thing to do right now is to set the tone for what you want next. You're in this space, you're in this void, you have been cut off from what was before, and what is next has not yet started. Set the energetic tone. Set the energetic tone. You can tune in for what's next. If you're not receiving those messages, then start thinking about what you want to be next. How do you want things to be different than they have been before? What kinds of people do you want to interact in your life, have in your life now versus before? What kinds of experiences? How do you want to be appreciated? Start setting the tone for that, because this is the perfect time. It's the quiet space. It's the void. It's limbo. It's the dark womb space before creation. This is where things get planted. It is the dark soil where you put the seed in and it travels through the dark before it sees the light. So what are you planting right now? And work on your mindset. If you're feeling a call that something greater is about to happen, work on your mindset so that you are truly ready to receive it, so that when it shows up, you know you are worthy of it. You're ready to hit the ground running. So work on that mindset and it will get you ready for it. It may even bring it to you sooner, but it'll certainly get you ready for it. And that is definitely a good use of your time right now. And finally, what I'll say is do restful things that you don't normally let yourself do. So that can be playing a video game. That can be living a day fully in flow. I'm going to live today doing whatever I'm called to today. I'm not going to do anything that I'm supposed to do or should do, just wherever my spirit calls me. That is how I'm going to live this day. So you can live a day in flow. You can do art. You can pursue whatever creative ideas are coming to you, creative downloads. You can spend a whole day reading a book if that's not something that you allow yourself. That's certainly something I would never allow myself. So you can spend your whole day reading a book, something pleasurable. Sit down with your coffee and your tea and don't multitask. How many times do you do that and you are drinking it while you're driving to work, or you're drinking it while you are feeding the dogs or doing dishes, or you're drinking it while you're scrolling your phone or looking at your to-do list? Sit down, drink your coffee and your tea, and don't multitask. Just enjoy the beverage and enjoy the moment for what it is. And, or you could sit down and watch a video that truly nourishes your soul without it being in the background. You know, how many times do you listen to a video while you're driving or while you're doing something different and it's just in the background while you're folding laundry? Sit down and enjoy, maybe you could multitask that with your beverage, or maybe not, you just sit down and you just enjoy the video and you just sit with it, something that really nourishes your soul. You can go for a long walk. Maybe usually you're like, I just work out and I just, I lift my weights and I do my treadmill and it's like on a timer. And that's it. And then I go straight to work or go straight to my other action items. What if you just took a long walk and you didn't really plan where you were going to go or how long you were going to be gone for, and you just enjoyed the stroll? I bet you get a million downloads that way. Definitely, especially if you do it solo. So if you feel like you're not hearing a message, go for a walk. You will receive a lot of messages. You might want to bring your phone to record messages that you receive, or a little notebook or something. Okay, so now let's wrap it up with the question. If you are struggling with life, or you're just dealing with a challenge, ask yourself, what's in it for me? What's in this situation? What's in it for me? Because sometimes we ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why is this happening to me? But instead, ask yourself, what's in it for me? Why would the universe bless me with this? What am I going to get out of this? Because for sure, you're going to get something out of it. For sure. So you might as well just ask yourself, what's in it for me? Because something's good going to come from this. So I wonder what it is. And you might be able to figure it out. Most of the time, I can figure it out. And the great thing about figuring it out is that you see where the universe is leading you. And you can jump on that bandwagon and enjoy it versus wondering what's in it for me and why is this happening to me? And you feel like you're being tugged along, but instead you'd be like, oh, no, I see where this is headed and I see how that's going to help me. Let's do this together, universe. Let's co-create. That's what co-creating is tuning into, what I want, which the universe is hearing. But then how often are we hearing what the universe is trying to tell us? We're telling it, I want this thing. But the universe is saying like, hey, you need to learn this. And if we hear that, then we're like, you want me to learn that so I can get the thing that I told you that I wanted. And then you're buddies. Okay. Let's see. So sometimes there are very challenging situations in life, right? Where what's in it for me might seem like it doesn't apply, like really intense situations. And so this question can be altered to be, what does my soul want me to learn here that is going to elevate me to that next level in my life? What is my soul trying to teach me about my worthiness and about myself? So if you're in, let's say, a very toxic situation, the question of what is my soul trying to teach me about my worthiness and about myself? It might be trying to teach you, I need to get the hell out of this. Or, and I'm worthy of it. I know I'm better than this and I know that I need to go. It might be teaching you that like, hey, I see how people are stepping on each other to get ahead, and that's not me. I don't resonate with this at all. And you might be learning your worth, not only your worth, but also like who you are. But essentially, what is my soul trying to teach me about my worthiness and about myself? What does my soul want me to learn here that is going to elevate me to that next level in my life, right? Like if you learn about your values, then that's going to elevate you. It's going to elevate your confidence. It's going to elevate your sense of purpose. It's going to elevate your groundedness. It's going to elevate, how you interact with people, how you lead people in the future, because you're going to go from these values. You're going to be able to have an impact because you're showing others that it doesn't have to be that way. It can be a different way. So, it's taking you to that next level of life and the impact that you can have. All right, I'm going to leave it here. I hope that this served you, and I will catch you in the next one.